Lesson 8. In this grammar presentation, we'll be introduced to the first declension, and we'll look at first declension feminine nouns like kora, land, and we'll also look at the feminine forms of the definite article. As you may recall, there are 3 declensions in Greek. We have already looked at the second. We turn now to the first declension. The first declension features mostly feminine nouns, though there are some important masculine ones, and there are 5 variants, 5 basic patterns for these nouns. In the singular, the stem of each first declension feminine noun ends in one of 3 letters. So we're going to see one of these 3 letters really in all forms of first declension nouns. Either we're going to see a long alpha, an eta, or a short alpha. In Attic Greek, this ending here on the stem can almost always be predicted from the previous letter of the stem. For instance, most letters followed by the stem are going to produce an eta, sometimes a short alpha, more rarely. And an iota, rho, or epsilon is going to produce a long alpha. There are exceptions to this. Sometimes we get short alphas after an iota, rho, or epsilon, but by and large, this is the rule of thumb. For instance, if we take a noun like ko, I'm not going to give you the stem, which of these letters is going to follow it? Well, usually it would be eta, but because the previous letter is a rho, it's one of these iota, rho, or epsilon letters, it's going to be a long alpha, kora. And that is going to be the noun that we look at, the declension of. So we're going to plug kora into the singular nominative, and we're going to take this kor, the first 3 letters, and plug them in everywhere else. And throughout the singular, we're going to see this long alpha. It's there's an invisible macron, as it were, over all of these alphas, but we want to keep in mind that it's the alpha in each case is long. And to find the endings for this, in the genitive we're going to add a sigma. In the dative we're going to add an iota, as we always do in some way or another. And as in most other cases, that iota is going to be written subscript. Adscript would be the opposite. In the accusative, we're going to see a nu, just like we saw actually in the accusative singular for masculine nouns of the second declension. In the plural, we're going to start with basically the endings for second declension nouns. Oi, on, ois, us, second declension masculine nouns. But in place of the omicrons, we're going to see the letter characteristic of the first declension, which is going to be, again, long alpha here. So these are effectively the forms, the endings, of a noun like kora, hey, land. Now let's look at these same endings, and we're going to get from them to the forms of the definite article for the feminine. In place of these alphas, we're going to see one of the other 2 letters characteristic of feminine nouns, and that's eta. So we're just going to change those alphas to etas, and for the nominative forms, that's all we have to do. All we're going to do is add a breathing mark for each of these and get he and hai in the nominative. For the other cases, the non-nominative cases, also known as the oblique cases, we're just going to add the usual tau there. So these are the feminine forms of the article: he, tes, te, ten, hai, ton, tais, tas, etc. For the forms of these, you can take a look at pages 25 and 24 for first declension nouns and the feminine forms of the definite article. Thank you very much.